routing and video conferencing, and it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Spring is finally here, and so are spring projects. So get them started at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale this weekend. Save on products like pressure washers for $69.99, 42-inch roller cabinets for under $500, plus 30% off Hercules corded power tools. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 3/9/25 while supplies last. Limitations apply, so spring in before it's over.
Overnight, Good Neighbor Talk turns to UFOs, aliens, the unknown. It's Coast to Coast AM overnight every night on WGNS, Murfreesboro. We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning on a cold Thursday morning, but this is wintertime and we are to enjoy, and we appreciate the summer heat and we appreciate the winter cold. We have a wonderful guest here this morning, a gentleman that is known by so many people in Rutherford County, that Dr. Jimmy Sullivan, who is the Director of Schools for the Rutherford County Schools. And before I introduce Jimmy, I would like to be called Jimmy because he's just a good man. A friend of mine was asking me the other day, who listens to the Roundtable, and she said, who's your guest on Thursday? And I said, Dr. Jimmy Sullivan. She said, let me tell you something about him. My two closest friends are teachers with the Rutherford County Schools, and they can't say enough about you. And they just totally love their director of schools. So, and I know that feeling is throughout the district, primarily because you are a man that cares and you're a man with a heart.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Roundtable.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Give us a quick, off the top of the head, state of the school for springtime 2025.
Schools are great. I know that just seems crazy to say, but really we are. When you think of public education nationwide, I know there's a lot of talk and a lot of narrative, but as far as our Rutherford County school system, everyone should be proud of where we are. I think it's probably one of the best times we've had as a public school system. Mm-hmm. There's, of course, a nationwide teacher shortage. We are not experiencing a teacher shortage. We don't have dozens upon dozens of applicants like we may have had 10 or 15 years ago, but we are able to fill our positions. We have had our best academic success that I'm sure we can get into a little bit more detail here in a little while.
Might as well start right now.
Okay, well, that's nice, great. Always start, yeah.
Be proud of the greatness.
Yeah. So we, what we talk about is growth. So that's where we want to...
Quality growth.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about growth of our students, and the Tennessee Department of Education ranks that on scores of 1 through 5, and we talk about we want to be a level 5, which is defined as more growth than what the department expects. And we had 32 of our 48 schools were a level 5 school.
Wow.
Which is 2/3.
How's that compare statewide?
Much higher.
Much higher.
Much higher.
Yeah,
it's the highest we've ever performed.
Fantastic.
We have broken our own record the last 2 years. And so that's phenomenal. And then we have, the state had a new letter grade system last year of A through F, and we have had dozens of A schools, no F schools, and we just we're something that this county should be proud of, and it's why we continue to grow, is because people are moving here.
And you've been director for how long?
The number of months I can give you almost down to the day. I mean, I'm just
how about the hour? You're right before spring break.
Yes.
You're saying, I'm counting the minutes.
Counting the minutes since July 1st, 2022.
Well, so...
almost 3 full years.
And I think the growth and the progress and so forth can to a great degree be measured by your motivation and you being you among the family of Rutherford County Schools.
Well, thank you. It's a team approach. I'm a big believer that you have to focus on people. If you ever lose your belief in people, then you lose focus on everything else.
But it carries down to your belief in the student as well.
Has to, yes.
How would you say those graduating from high school, how is the placement in college, placement in their future?
Yeah, I think we've seen a shift back to probably where it was in the 80s and then early 90s. In the 90s and 2000s, it was really everybody has to go to college. Mm-hmm. That's shifted back towards really we want you to be prepared for whatever your future may hold, and it is our job to prepare you for multiple pathways, whether that is college, whether that is technical or trade school, or whether that's career. So we talk about it being college and career ready. And we have an amazing, robust partnership with our Chamber of Commerce, and they have a branch off, which is called Rutherford Works.
Yes.
And that's just an amazing partnership with industry, and it's helping prepare our students to be successful in whatever they may choose.
And you're the fourth largest district in the state.
Yes, we are the fourth largest district in the state. We talk about this a lot. Mm-hmm. Memphis, Shelby County is number 1. Metro is number 2. Metro Nashville. Knox County is number 3. We are the fourth largest. Just over 52,500 students, pre-K through 12. I know for people who are new to Rutherford County, that may not seem shocking. Living here my entire life, that is shocking to think about 52,500 students. We've added over 20,000 students in the last 2 decades.
That's amazing.
We have more students than San Francisco Unified. People think of San Francisco, you think of big, large
city, urban
major city, and you don't think of Rutherford County schools having more students than that, but we have more students.
And even the demographics in the population has changed.
It's definitely changed. We no longer have a majority race in Rutherford County schools. Predominantly, we have always been a largely Caucasian school system. Mm-hmm. We're right at about 50%, right under 50% if you look at the state report card. And so it's just we educate students, and that's what our job is.
How many languages is being spoken in the district?
Over 120.
Are you serious?
Yes, but we are a English-only state, so we educate in English.
But the ability to reach out to
it's tough.
Not only the students, but parents who are...
It's definitely a challenge, and it's a challenge for our teachers. Just to be able to communicate, because we can have the best strategies, the best instructional methods, but being able to communicate, and it's nothing bad. It's just a challenge, especially when you want parental involvement and there's just a language barrier.
Are you pleased with your parental involvement at
Absolutely,
this point?
Yes. And that's something that I think is a challenge. You see all the national headlines, especially around education, and locally we have great parental involvement. And so you hear and you see all these things, and at the end of the day, parents want their kids to have a good education.
Sure.
They want their kids to be safe. They want their kids to come home, and they want their kids to be able to be successful at the next grade and make a good life.
And the linkage, grandparents, are you involved in grandparents?
Yes, we are.
I look upon it from that perspective, of course.
Absolutely. And so we hear a lot about the national and the statewide and all the politics around education. And at the end of the day, the largest majority of people that we deal with don't get involved in all of that. It's just outside noise. And I know that's hard for people involved in politics to hear, but our parents, by and large, just want their kids to be safe and be educated.
Exactly. And your largest elementary school, and let's talk about the facts. How many elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools are within the district?
So we have 51 schools total.
Okay.
So we are about to open our next elementary school. It is on track to open in August, Poplar Hill Elementary.
And that's located where?
In between Blackman and Stewart's Creek, in between the old Beatty Farms.
Gotcha.
So that will open in August, between 900 and 1,000, just depending on how many students actually enroll.
Didn't the standard used to be 600 was an
did.
ideal from K through 6?
And that's the challenge right now, is that in order for large districts, and this is something that keeps me up at night, and one of our challenges that our county commission is our funding body, and they have been phenomenal to work with. From our school board, as far as setting direction of where we want to go, I want to always take an opportunity to thank our school board. We have some definite tough conversations, but we, regardless of how we agree or disagree on things, we all have the students' best interest at heart, regardless of what our viewpoints are.
Name them for the big thank you one-on-one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Sure.
So we have Claire Maxwell as our chair, Francis Rosales as our vice chair. We have Caleb Tidwell, Katie Darby. We have Butch Vaughn, Stan Vaught, and I'm going blank. Who am I? Tammy Sharp. And so I was going blank. I was going straight or lost. So Tammy was our chair a couple years ago. So our school board, regardless of what you see on the news and all the media, we all have different opinions on the best way to be able to be successful, but we all have our students and our district's best interest at heart. So I thank them for setting that direction.
How have the awards been for individual students on different competitive events and activities?
So we have, whether it's athletics, extracurricular, we of course had Stewart's Creek High School that was part of the presidential inauguration back in January. Going back to our school board, I think just highlighting that, we will tonight receive the Tennessee School Boards Association Board of Distinction Award.
Fantastic.
And so that is just another credit to that. Going back to kind of Poplar Hill, where we were talking about that, and we're talking about the large elementary schools, our board sets the direction, our county commission funds it, but what we really have to start focusing on in order for us to be successful, to keep growing, we have to start getting back towards that community aspect of schools. Mm-hmm. We have built such large schools. We are going to be a district that just has large schools, and we're going to lose that community aspect if we're not careful.
Do you find yourself conceptually even breaking an elementary school down between upper grades and lower grades?
Yeah, and I think what I hope to see, and I won't be the director to see this 20, 30, 40 years down the road, but we've started to see it already with Rockville High School, bringing back that Rockville community. Mm-hmm. I would hope 20, 30 years down the road we see the Las Casas having a high school, Walter Hill having a high school, all of the different community areas that we combined to make Oakland, Riverdale, Smyrna, Laverne 20, 30 years ago, having that community feel again. Or otherwise, we will just be a big metropolitan school system with no identity. And that's what scares me.
And yet, what is also scary is some of the developments in the county that are planned with, and I think we talked last time you visited us, with 6,000 homes in actually just northwest of us.
Yes. Yeah.
And how you bond for that, how you finance, how many schools involved, et cetera. You know, people don't realize that as being a large district in a rapidly growing area, just being able to fund and plan.
Correct, yeah. And then we there was one that was on the news in the last 10 days on the south side of the county that we're probably going to have to shift a little bit of our 5-year plan that wasn't really on our radar. That those are things that we just have to evolve with our district. That's probably the biggest challenge, is how do we keep our identity of being a great school system as we continue to be large.
As you get large, talk about class size.
Yeah.
Both in the K through 6 as well as middle school and high school.
Yeah, class sizes are large for us. We have a great system of how we do class sizes. The state sets the maximum for class sizes, and to be as fair as possible, it's not exact because no school is exactly the same as the other. Mm-hmm. But at the high school level, you're allowed to have 1 to 30, one teacher to 30 students, and it can go up to 35 students actually is your maximum, but it has to be a 30 average.
Does it depend on the topic, or it can be any subject?
1 to 30. CTE is career and technical education is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Those are 20 to 25. But for everything else, it is 35 students max, but a 30 average, and that is 7 through 12. At the 4th through 6th grade level, it is 30 students as your maximum, but you have 25 average, and then K through 3 is 20 students average with up to 25 in a maximum classroom.
Are you fairly extensive in teaching assistants and people serving, either paid or volunteer in the classroom?
Paid usually.
Paid.
So our teaching assistants are pretty much all at the elementary level.
Mm-hmm. And so that gives the teacher certainly
pretty much at the
support.
elementary level.
I always get back to this subject because I always remember you saying how you determine it busing,
Yes.
bus driving, snow days, and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah, so people may think, oh, snow days are easy. Snow days are, the district is closed, even when the district office is closed. Snow days are some of the most stressful days for a director of schools, especially, and our leadership team. So even if the district is closed, we are already working on that night and that very next day. So if we make the decision to close the school system, we have extracurricular activities we have to decide upon. Mm-hmm. There are field trips, there are fine arts, there are sporting events that are still going on at night. We are not a school system that can just decide for ourselves. We are competing usually or traveling with other local school systems.
Sure.
So I'm talking with other directors of schools who are then talking with their coaches and sponsors. You have to make sure that you have a good conversation because you don't want your teams to accidentally have to forfeit a game that ends their season. Mm-hmm. Then you are looking at your parking lots for liability purposes, making sure that all
Slip
of
and
you
fall, if
absolutely.
nothing else. Sure.
We have several trouble areas in our county, and I know that one of the common things we've had so many people move here over the years. How come you guys just don't go to your trouble areas in the county and clear those roads? We're a county school system with a county government, and our county doesn't have those type of machinery or resources to go clear those type of roads. And I know that may be frustrating, but that's just not our reality for something that may happen 4 days out of the year.
Well, you might be able to clear the primary and secondary roads,
yeah.
But when you start getting in the tertiary, the third, the gravel roads and so forth, the poor buses are going to be a real significant issue.
And we split it up across the county. So I live on the south side of the county, so my route pretty much is I go from the Christiana area all the way to Rockville, Eagleville, cut across, and then I go back down Christiana Hoover's Gap over to Kittrell, and then I eventually, that's my route, and the rest of my team covers some other areas of the county. So it takes us about 4.5 hours to drive the areas we do.
That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Why should a young man or young woman consider becoming a teacher?
It's the best career you could have. So no disrespect to other careers, but to where I think about someone choosing a career to where it's monotonous and mundane every day, to where you go and you're trying to hit budget projections or sales numbers or just doing something that's the same every single day. Mm-hmm. In education, you are working with people. You are working with students and helping shape the future.
And each one is an individual resource and talent.
And outside of just the education aspect, the opportunities just to form relationships is just something you don't get in every other field.
Talk about, as we did off the air, the one principal over 50 years.
Yeah. Well, we have several that have been, but I was receiving last night. I was watching some sports on TV at like 10 something at night, and I'd sent an email, and I received an email back of why are you emailing me at 10 something at night?
Why are you up?
Yeah. And then second, but that was Miss Goodwin at Barfield was emailing me like, why are you still emailing me? You need to take better care of yourself. But I should have replied back with, why are you emailing me back at that same time? But yeah.
And she's been with the district over 50 years.
So, yep.
Talk about you first in terms, you graduated from where was your education, and then how did you get started in the education profession? And carry a little bit about your journey so far.
Yeah. So I went to Walter Hill, kindergarten
so you're
through 8th
local.
grade. Oh, yes. Yeah, born and raised here. Lived in my first house in Smyrna right by Nissan, and then we moved to Walter Hill after that. Then went to Oakland 9th through 12th grade. My parents were divorced, so didn't have a way to pay for college. So my mom worked 4 jobs, so it was to figure out to go to college. I actually went on a minority scholarship, which may seem strange being Caucasian, but went to a minority scholarship and went to Tennessee State University, historically black college and university.
Yep.
At that time, still is, but
historically black.
Yep. And so minority scholarships were available at that time, and went into education. I actually wanted to be a meteorologist.
Oh, really?
So that's what I wanted to do.
So that's why the snow days become
yes,
of
that's
interest.
why. Yes,
You
I'm
put
a little
your finger
nerdy
out
on
the window and you
I'm
say,
a little nerdy on the snow days.
Okay,
James
okay.
Evans, our communications person, will tell you that.
Gotcha.
I wanted to be a meteorologist, but I went to St. Mark's Methodist growing up here in town, and we went on a mission trip my junior year of high school, going into my senior year, and I got placed at a preschool where no one spoke English, and it just completely...
Where was that at?
In Chicago, inner
Oh, in
city
Chicago, okay.
And it completely changed my trajectory of what I wanted to do. So instead of wanting to be a meteorologist, I went to be a middle school science teacher.
What did you, if your memory serves you right, what specific occurrences took place in Southside Chicago?
Yeah.
Southside Chicago, in terms of seeing the little faces and the discovery of fact, information, and truth?
Just the connection, because the language barrier was there.
Wow.
We shared a completely different language. But
Spanish was the language?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yeah. But
Puerto
just
Rican?
being able to have a connection between each other, I was like, this first was fun.
What grade level would you say it was?
It was young. It was preschool.
Oh, you
So it was
like the
preschool.
little ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, this is fun. I could do this every day.
So you graduated?
Yep. So that changed. Graduated high school, went to TSU, started, did my student teaching at Blackman Middle School, got hired at Blackman Middle School, taught science at Blackman Middle School.
Wow.
And then was an assistant principal. I was young. I actually was with Miss Goodwin. I interviewed with her for an assistant principal job, and she said, "You were too young for my faculty, but I know somebody in Bedford County, and they need assistant principals." And so I went to be an assistant principal at Harris Middle School. That was 1 year from state takeover under the old No Child Left Behind. Was a principal there with our team. We helped get it from a really, really bad situation. And was there 6.5, 7 years, opened Rocky Fork Middle School in Smyrna. So was the first principal there. And then moved into curriculum and instruction, assistant superintendent in 2019, and then became director here in 2022.
Have you ever said you're too young for a job to an applicant?
Never. And when somebody would say that to me, that was an automatic thing for me of, all right, I don't want to work with you then.
Or on the other side, you're too old for the job?
Never. Absolutely never.
Absolutely.
Nope, never.
Age should not be a criteria. It's
Absolutely never. Yes.
person that counts. Talk about for a few moments, because I have a very personal feeling toward it, is the dual enrollment. And I'm assuming Laverne High School is the only one within the district that's dual enrollment?
Oh, we have dual enrollment everywhere.
Oh, do you really?
Yes, every high school with multiple partners.
Oh,
We do.
Okay.
Yes, now-
see what I learned.
Yes, Laverne's a little bit different because we have the early college. So it is the only one that has that type of, where the students are on Motlow's campus to that degree, getting the
They're
associates.
so
there.
enjoyable. I do all the political science classes for the American, for the dual enrollment. They're so wonderful. But there is one problem with dual enrollment.
What's that?
And that problem is, believe it or not, they get their AA degree from Motlow a week before they get
sure
their
do.
high school diploma. And I always ask them, so what's the feeling that you're in a high school graduation, but you already have your AA degree in your back pocket? And they said that they miss being a senior in some respect, but they love being a freshman and a sophomore at the college
that's right.
level.
It's strange. It's definitely strange.
But you can be very proud. You can be very proud of the team that you have that manages through Laverne and Motlow. They are super, super people to work with. Super people. If you had a magic wand to tell a parent how to be an ideal parent as far as being supportive of a child in school, and it's not necessarily, and this is one of the real issues that parents have. I can tell you grandparents have it even worse. How do you talk and communicate with a student today who is so far ahead in technology, so far ahead in concept and so forth, versus what the parent or grandparent may have experienced in school?
I don't know. I have a 7th grader.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm battling the same thing.
Oh, I look at a Sixers. I think one of the first times I was at a public library, and I am totally a technology, quote, illiterate is the best way. and I'm in a library and I need some assistance, and a child, and I'm not exaggerating, 3 or maybe 4 at the most, came over and said, "Sir, can I help you?" Mm-hmm. And this child says on the keyboard, so and so forth. And I'm saying, what? So, even with a teacher today, how you keep up? Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole AI situation. And how is AI affecting an educator today?
It's just something that we are constantly training ourselves on. AI is part of our software packages that we have. And so it is something that I'd be naive if I said we're as on top of it our students are, because they are. We have some teachers that absolutely are, because that is something that they're passionate about.
Oh, wow.
Your president at Motlow, Dr. Torrance, is definitely
yes, he is
very on top of it. And so we are constantly evolving our practices, and to think that we could just outlaw AI in schools would be naive. That's not reality. It is something that we have to partner with and figure out a way to make sure that it is a tool. It's what businesses use as a tool. It's something I use as a tool to help be more efficient. But we have to make sure that it is a tool to help the learning process and not take the place of the learning process.
Well, if I ever felt that AI was a problem in terms of writing papers for me, and I mean, that is a real challenge. What I have done in classes the first week, I will ask the students to write a 2-page pen and paper about what they expect from the school and be as comprehensive as possible so it becomes an in-class exercise. Then I hold those papers, and if I get a paper back and I say, "Wow, your writing skills have suddenly changed. Where did you learn to write so well in a matter of 3 weeks?"
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a good time.
You could also use AI to analyze the difference between the two.
You're so correct.
Yeah.
So correct. How would you say, we talked about why a person should become a teacher. What is there to see? And my wife had been a teacher for 32 years, and primarily her specialty was math and science. And she said, probably one of the greatest gifts you can have as a teacher in the first and second grade is to see when a child, quote, immediately discovers a mathematical concept. Not just 2 + 2 = 4, but whether it's a preliminary algebraic or whether it's a preliminary geometry point, and they suddenly discover, and the look in the child's face and the look in the opportunity that they have discovered, they've discovered truth. How would you, in your years, and this is a totally generic and broad question, so there's not a true answer to it, but how would you evaluate the overall student, even with over 50,000, versus a student of 10 years ago or when you began teaching? Is there a difference?
To some degree, yes. Definitely what we expect of students that are entering kindergarten. I think students get a bad rap of, these students aren't prepared. These students, what we're expecting of students in kindergarten in every grade level is so much more advanced than what we were expected to do even 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. A lot of that is because of test scores. If you go back 15 years ago, Tennessee had 100% proficiency in test scores.
Wow.
That was because of the way the test was designed, how hard the test was, and how the test was scored. The tests have become much more rigorous. The cut scores, or what's considered proficient, how many you have to get right, has changed over the last 15 years. And so students aren't performing worse than they were 15 years ago. Just the criteria has changed. So I think that's important for the community, for parents. When you see 40% of kids are proficient, that doesn't mean 60% of kids can't read.
Correct.
Because that's often what you hear. That just means the criteria has changed. 15 years ago, 100% of kids weren't proficient in reading. But that's what the state of Tennessee said 15 years ago. But if you look at what students are asked to do now, you hear parents and grandparents say, "I can't help them with that."
No.
Well, those two statements saying that, well, our kids can't read, but yet what we're asking them to do is much harder. Those two statements don't go together. And so we have to take some time and really ask, all right, well, those two statements don't go together. What's really the truth?
Yes.
The truth is what we're asking our kids to do is much more difficult. And for the most part, they respond. The problems that I see is attention span. the attention span's nowhere near.
Exactly. And there's also another issue, and I see this in writing, with...
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
with in terms of the ability to write on text.
Absolutely.
And writing text versus writing literary, or even reading text versus reading substance. We're going to talk a little bit more about that after this break, but we're with Dr. Jimmy Sullivan, Director of Schools, Rutherford County. Certainly a real asset for this community. We'll be right back.
First Shot, growing in Christ with life and athletic skills.
So we teach God's Word at everything we do to implant it in them so that they understand that the only way to get through the world is with God on their side.
First Shot founder and executive director Andy Herzer.
Our focus is on our inner city here at Patterson Park.
From academics to athletics, First Shot's focus is toward building a stronger, more courageous spirit to face opportunities and obstacles that our youth confront every day. To find out more about First Shot, go to firstshottn.org.
Choosing the right insurance can be overwhelming. That's where Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance comes in. At Rayburn, we're not just about policies, we're about people. Rick Hall will take the time to understand your needs and find the best coverage at the best price. We've been serving our community since 1973. So why not let Rick Hall take the stress out of insurance? Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency, where you're more than just a policy number. You're our neighbors.
The city of Murfreesboro is growing, and we need your help to prove it by participating in the special census. Murfreesboro Mayor Shane McFarland.
We want to get an accurate count of our residents compared to the last census. The more people that are counted, the more state shared revenue dollars Murfreesboro receives.
It's fast and easy. Complete the form online at murfreesborocensus.com.
Count me in.
Okay, count me in.
And count me in too.
Let's make sure every resident counts. Visit murfreesborocensus.com.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2. Have a plan to get there. Step 3. Make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all three with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
I've got pests, bees, buzzing, rodents running all through my house. Ants chewing wood, and look, there's a mouse. I'm overrun with pests, but you're gonna be sure, safe and secure. It's the last rites for those pests. Call the best of the best to get rid of your pests.
893-7111. AmeriCare Services Incorporated. Call us today. 893-7111.
WGNS encourages you to shop local. Let's patronize our local mom and pop businesses. Some great plays to enjoy this weekend. Seussical the Musical at the Center for the Arts in Uptown Murfreesboro. Also, Alice in Wonderland Jr. at the Springhouse Theater in Smyrna. And Sherlock Holmes' Mystery of the Crown Jewel at the Art Center of Cannon County in neighboring Woodbury. Don't miss those. And the Red Cross is still critically low on blood. Please give the gift of life. Phone the Red Cross at 800-RED-CROSS and make an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. We're a week away from the 14th Annual Special Kids Race. That's Saturday morning, March 14th at Murfreesboro Medical Clinic. Oh, and don't forget the Red Cross Heroes Luncheon honoring Dr. Gloria Bonner is Thursday morning, March 13th at MTSU's Student Union Ballroom. Hey, don't forget, this is the weekend that we switch to daylight savings time. And those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
Skies become mostly sunny here this afternoon, high in the low 50s. Tonight, increasing clouds, a low near 32. Friday, slight chance for rain, late high of 63. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 35.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE has provided light, comfort, and connection to our community since 1936. As your trusted energy advisor, MTE is always here to help. Connect online or download the My MTE app.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
This is Bill Krause again, the second segment of the WGNS Thursday edition of the Roundtable. Here we're having a wonderful Thursday morning visit with the Director of Schools for Rutherford County, Dr. James Sullivan. We like to call him Jimmy, like so many of the friends and people within this area. We have to share this story that we were talking about fundraisings and schools and what they do, and you were once in a dunking tank.
Yeah, I don't even know how this came up, but we were just talking about a dunking booth, and somebody had mentioned in the studio about a dunking booth, and I said never again because my pinky goes completely the wrong direction because it
as a result
it got stuck in a dunking booth when I was teaching and coaching at Blackman Middle. So never again.
Oh, wow.
Never again.
I always like to ask administrative educators, do you miss the classroom?
Every day.
Do you have potentially an opportunity? I've said this in terms of leadership at Motlow. I said, all the leadership should at least have one class that you can teach or come in as a specialty. I mean, I could see you doing science in the area. Go back to meteorology, and you're still a meteorologist in heart and practice.
Yeah.
How do you carry it out?
So for me, when we are doing looking at snow days, so I'll actually say last night we looked at it. I text James Evans at about 2:30 yesterday and said there's a winter weather advisory for the plateau yesterday for 1 to 3 inches of snow, and there was one of the 5 meteorological models that was calling for us to have about 1/4 of an inch of snow yesterday, and the other 4 weren't calling for anything. I just said that we just need to be aware of it. Turned out to be nothing, but still, it's just something that I just like to look at. And I know that's a little bit nerdy, but it's just something I like to look at.
No, because, when I talked to Leland Staton, Channel 5, I said, how do you know you're correct? How do you know that your predictions, unless it's right upon you? But how far out do you even today look? Do you look out over the Midwest and see movement coming from the west?
Well, that we had in our message, so we did a 2-hour delay, and I hate 2-hour delays. I hate them. But we did a 2-hour delay, I guess 2 weeks ago, and in our message we put there's also a potential for winter weather the first week of March in our message. And so we had somebody comment on our social media post, oh, look, now they're weather forecasters. And I was like, well, I mean, I looked at the long-range models. That's what I looked at to look at it. So it wasn't we didn't just make it up. I was looking at the long-range forecast models.
Exactly. Moving down to another area in terms of education, not to get involved in the politics of education being
It's my life, every moment of every day.
Oh, I can imagine. And the more, what was the news today that the president wanted to establish an executive order this morning to do away with Department of Education. Without getting into specifics, does the national environment create issues, for example, the county commission, your board, in terms of funding and in terms of confidence in the district and so forth? How do you delineate the confidence that the public should have in their local schools?
Yes, and I need to be very careful on how I answer
Oh,
this.
Absolutely. I did not want to throw you a leading question or a loaded question.
Yes, because what you see on the news definitely gets people talking.
Sure.
And what is the constant challenge for the school system is that our job is to educate students. It'd be naive for me to say that I don't work in a political environment. I have to.
Oh, absolutely.
Largely because I have to, and I do respect the role of our school board. Our school board has 7 members that are elected by the public, and I have to be aware that they're elected, and elected people have to be involved in politics.
And they have a philosophy, they have an agenda, they have a plan.
Absolutely. So what is a challenge is that what you see going on nationally and even statewide, a lot of times doesn't happen here.
No.
And that's tough when people see it on the news, when probably the biggest frustration is that we get questions from people who may not even have kids in the school system. They just see it, and rightfully so. They're taxpayers. They want to ask. But when you don't have kids in the school system, it's hard to explain it because there's no experience to justify other than what you hear. And there you don't have a lot of people to, I hate to say defend, but defend's probably the right word.
Sure.
To justify what you're doing, because parents, again, aren't going to get actively involved to justify what you're doing, because at the end of the day, they just want to make sure their kid is safe and their kids are getting an education. And that's what's happening in Rutherford County.
Exactly. I would imagine, and again, a very sensitive subject, anytime we experience nationwide a school shooting, whether it's in Tennessee or whether it's throughout the country, the impact not only on your staff, and the impact on your teachers, but equally the impact on the students.
Yeah.
And how do they, quote, react? Or what kind of response do you have to students after there's been a shooting?
It's tough. One of the first things that really we did in becoming director of schools was, it's almost like when you were a principal. You want to make sure that you get control of your environment.
Sure.
I do not like expelling students. It's not something I like to do.
No.
Taking an education away from a student is the last thing that a director of schools wants to do. But if students aren't learning because it's not safe, then you have to do that.
Exactly.
And if students make threats, or if students do things in school to where it's not safe, that's something that ultimately we have discipline procedures to go through, and the final appeal either goes to the board or goes to me, and if it's a serious enough threat, I uphold that. And so we have students who have been expelled. Antioch was as close as you can get to Rutherford County, arguably.
Oh, absolutely.
Nolensville, maybe, just depending on how you draw the line, but it's arguably
Antioch
close.
is
So
right next door to Laverne.
And so we've had a lot of discussions. I was someone who was definitely 5, maybe even 3 years ago, definitely against metal detectors in schools, because I did not like that. This is a learning environment. We need to protect it like a learning environment. Kids come to school to learn. Unfortunately, my viewpoint has changed. Whether it is for a deterrent, whether it is for peace of mind, a combination of both, I think that's the reality of where we are now.
Sure.
And I don't like that, but I'd be naive not to say that that's something that gives. I have students emailing me now saying that I'd feel better about it. We have several that metal detectors, weapons detection systems that we rotate around the county. We have been giving parents and students a heads up when they're going to be at the school, and just to get it in practice. But we also want to randomize that. We had a presentation at our work session on Tuesday night for our board, and we normally do security things privately. We're allowed to do that in executive session because it's safety. But we wanted that one to be public so that people realize this is something we're looking at to do. Ultimately, it's up to the board, but this is something that we're looking at to do potentially district-wide.
One of the areas, and I know we have this at Motlow, and it's still a hanging item, is a teacher is the closest to the student in terms of hopefully being able to see a troubled student before they become a trouble. And at what point, and you have a teacher ratio from 25 to 30, at what point can a teacher observe behavior before it's too late is the best way, before it's too late. And to what degree, and I can always recall a case where, not at Motlow, but another community college I'm associated with, where we were told very strongly in the community college, beware of potential suicide, since suicide of that age bracket was one of the number one causes of death. And a student in one night specifically 3 times made reference in a conversational way that she was just going to kill herself. And that night I called my immediate supervisor, and I said, all I can do is report. I can't analyze it. By the time it got to the fifth person that following morning, the fifth person had called the local police department. 5 police cars showed up at the house thinking that there was a suicide in motion. And that poor girl was traumatized just dramatically. So it's something to watch the mental health of a student. Mental health, I don't know, of a teacher, if you see any warning signs. So, that becomes today's time extremely tough. Is social media really an impact now? Not necessarily in high school, middle, even in the elementary school.
Absolutely. That is one of our biggest challenges that we deal with. And honestly, social media impacts us from a school system operationally. That is where it's twofold. One, that's where we deal with most of our issues between students, but that's where we deal with most of our disruptions to school and district operations. That's where most of our rumors happen. That's where most of our political battles happen.
Sure.
And most of them, again, are completely false. But that's where things start, and that's where things disrupt the good things going on in our school system, and it takes resources away from impacting our students. And as the director, that's probably my biggest frustration, is that all of the distractions are taking away resources from our students. Wow. And that should be what we're focused on.
Let's change the topic to hopefully a more positive one. Give us an overview of where your high school stand in sports right now.
Doing great.
Well, this is a good way to make a topic shift.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, whether it is sports or fine arts, I mean, we excel in everything. And so, of course, football, Oakland won state championship again. We are recognizing a wrestler from Stewart's Creek tonight at our school board meeting. We had cross country championships. We had tennis state championships from Siegel, and then for cross country from Central Magnet School. We have Stewart's Creek High School for wrestling tonight. We are in the middle of region championships for basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, track have all just kicked off, and so we excel, and that's what we should be.
Would you say March Madness finds its way into Rutherford County?
It absolutely does.
Are you a March Madness category?
College basketball fanatic.
Oh.
So I'm a Vanderbilt basketball season ticket holder. My dad is, again, I grew up here. My mom is from Nashville, and my dad's from Queens, New York, and so didn't have a college basketball family or team that we followed. And moving here, he befriended Roy Skinner. He used to be the assistant GM of the Nashville Sounds, and so just grew up watching Vanderbilt basketball, and so I continued that tradition with my kids and took them to Vanderbilt basketball.
Great. So. We'll be right back after the short break, having a delightful morning visit with Dr. Jimmy Sullivan, Director of Schools, Rutherford County.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-367-6289. 800-367-6289. 800-367-6289.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Chip Walters here with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. I was named a top 10 agent in the #1 Exit Realty office in America in 2021. The top question I get around town, how's the market? Good question. And the answer's changed a few times this year alone. I'd like to know what you've heard and share some solid data we have. Give me a call and let's have a cup of coffee and take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood. All my contact info is right on my website, choosechip.net. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Is your faith built on truth or ancient deception?
The book Influence of Babylon from Leon Daniels, host of The Truth Will Set You Free on Sundays, exposes the link between Babylon, Rome, and today's churches. Get your copy of The Influence of Babylon now on Amazon.
Alright guys, if you're only middle-aged but wondering why it seems harder to keep up, you're not alone. It may be caused by low testosterone. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, can help you get back to your best. But not just any TRT, not those websites offering only basic treatments. You have to see the provider specialist at Low T Center. They offer advanced personalized treatments with over a decade of experience. At Low T Center, you'll start with a simple test and get your results in about 25 minutes. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Huh, that's a $10 bill.
Finding a $10 bill on the couch is a win.
And another one. And another one. And another
Finding
one.
100 $10 bills? Now that's a multiplier win.
Honey, this couch is like an ATM. Go check the one in the bonus room.
Multiply your win again and again with a Multiplier Instant Games. Play today to multiply your win 10, 20, 50, 100, or even 200 times for the chance at a $1 million top prize. The Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing fun. Please play responsibly.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Bill Krause, again, the final segment of the Roundtable, WGNS, Thursday edition, and a delightful and very, very informative visit with the Director of Schools for Rutherford County, Dr. James Sullivan. Jimmy, always a pleasure to have you here, and I like to always say to our Directors of School, hopefully every 3 or 4 months, have back. Happy. Bring some of your folks if you like and introduce them. So we'll be scheduling you hopefully sometime in the summer before you get into the fall 25-26 season. Are you optimistic about the future in terms of education?
Yes, I am.
In what ways?
I think especially here in Rutherford County, and even talking with our private school partners, we have a great relationship with our private school partners. And a strong connection with public-private schools makes a strong community. If either one of those pillars fall, then your community falls. Sure. And you end up like and no disrespect to a big city like Detroit, but when you start saying, we, like it or not, we are a large factory-driven manufacturing, to a smaller degree, like Detroit was with when we have Nissan, we have General Mills. We have a lot of manufacturing still in this community. And if our public school and private schools start to fall, then your community starts to fall.
Exactly. That's a resource that
you're absolutely correct.
Not only for location, but for expansion.
Absolutely. And so I feel great about it because we still have such a strong partnership. Our community still supports our public schools despite what you see on social media and on the news. The fact that we still are growing, that we are having our highest academic performance ever, and it starts with our culture. Our culture in our community, in our school system, from our staff to our parents to our students, is strong.
Yes.
And that's where it has to stay.
Well, and even one of the criteria of a public agency, actually a public agency more than a for-profit corporation, is the longevity of people that you have.
Yeah.
And not just the lady who's over 50 years within the district, but the longevity of people is not only pay and benefits and what have you, it applies itself to people feel that it's a environment that's opportunity, pleasing, etc. Do you operate with a philosophy, and this is actually the basis of my teaching philosophy, is that I will tell students, I'm not here to teach you too much. I'm here to provide the opportunity for you to discover.
Yeah.
Do you find students at all levels taking the opportunity to discover?
Absolutely. That's ultimately what we're there to do, because the opportunities we're providing them for, as they continue through their lives and their careers, we're providing them for things that we don't even know exist yet. And so it's got to be the critical thinking, the ability to solve problems, to work together, that are going to allow them to be successful.
I will always ask students, now I'm dealing more from the Motlow College level than the high school or lower grade level, but I will specifically ask a student when I first meet them, are you a morning or an evening person? And if they're a morning person in the college level, I said, well, you can take a 8 o'clock class and you'll be great. If you're an evening student, you're taking a 7 a.m. statistics class, I'm not going to give you a great prediction of how you're going to do in that class. So know your time. What kind of hints do students receive? Best time to do homework. When is the best time for a parent to be sitting there, not necessarily as a resource on homework, but a parent, for example, they're doing bills, they're writing checks out for the monthly statements or what have you. Do it in conjunction with the student doing homework, and it suddenly becomes a work-shared event. Or have a student specifically say, where's the best place you can do homework at home? And if the house is noisy, if the TV's on, there's 5 or 6 children, and there's dogs and cats and what have you, to what degree can the child be encouraged? Even though the somewhat replicates of what we said before, if we're looking 5 years from today, we're looking at 2030. You're a weather predictor, but can you be an educator predictor in Rutherford County 5 years from today?
Yeah. I'm hopeful that we have new high school open, probably at 57,000 students, I would imagine, and that we are starting to transition to smaller schools and not these big, huge monstrosities, and building that community feel back into what made Rutherford County what Rutherford County is. Because again, if we don't do that, then I think we just become another large school system that struggles.
And you're certainly a recipient of education majors from MTSU.
Absolutely.
And you're a major attraction.
Yep.
You also have teaching internships or teaching, quote, involvement by the MTSU student, they're student teaching.
And we have our own licensing department within our own Rutherford County schools. We license about 120 teachers a year ourselves.
Wow. Well, this has been a wonderful, wonderful morning, and we certainly look forward to seeing you back maybe in about 3 months. Dr. James Sullivan, Jimmy, as we all call him, who really is a spark, along with the Board of Education, that provides to this county and the cities within this county, working with Murfreesboro City Schools, of course, in this corporate, a quality education that is so important not only for responding to the needs and wants and future of the students, but also to encourage and be a resource for new businesses that are coming or new businesses that are expanding in the community. Education is number one in so many lists of what is needed to make a wonderful community, great state, and outstanding nation. Thank you for being with us, and keep up the super, super job.
Thank you.